Let us start today with me remembering to do things like record this. Okay, there we go, great. And I'm gonna have us all come out into the space and just come down onto your hands and knees. We're just gonna start with a little bit of flexion, extension, and then take this into a crawling pattern. So on hands and knees, just pressing the floor away for a moment. So you can do this with me. Getting your hands right underneath your shoulders and then just push down. And notice if you push hard enough, your spine is going to want to come into flexion. And let's not do that yet. So just press down, fully extending the elbows without hyperextending. And now see if you can also press down into your knees, simultaneously reaching out through the crown of the head and the tail. So beginning to feel everything kind of tone up and the architecture of your body start to assert itself as, building-like, let's say. So we're going to make a little box. And then release that effort slightly so that thing sag a little bit. And again, press, feeling your abdominals engaged, the back of your neck lengthen, and then press further as you bring your head and your tail towards each other. And then extend, moving out on your midline without losing that sense of press down through your hands and your knees. And we're going to take that again. So flexing, pressing the floor away, big push into the hands. And then extend, lengthening out. So thinking about it as moving to the horizon before moving towards the ceiling. And flex, pressing down into your arms. And lengthen, extend. Pulling sternum and tail way out on that horizon, away from one another, letting your focus also participate. And one more time, flexing, pressing down, feeling the shoulder blades move apart on your back, and lengthening to extend. Chest moving forward, not tail moving back and up. And from here, let's add on a little locomotion. So taking your right leg out and your left arm out, finding the horizon, and then fingers and toes moving further apart to lift up slightly. Giant step forward with that hand, knee crawls forward, and other side, lengthening out. So taking your time these first couple of crawls. Big, juicy steps. And every time you draw the knee in, feeling the pelvis tuck under, spine move into flexion, and the abdominals engage. Long crawl forward. And good. Whenever it is that you run out of space in your room, you're going to reverse that activity. Bringing your knee up towards your nose before lengthening out to your extension. Coming forward and back. And taking this again, all the way through your space. As you reach out, as you come to single weightedness in your arm and your upper extremity, trying to keep your shoulders level. And keeping the sense that your spine is functioning on one plane within this shoulder girdle and pelvic girdle. Crawling forward and back. For me, it's one more time. In your space, it may be slightly different. Noticing your breathing is changing. Your temperature is changing. Getting a little awareness in your fingers and toes. Bringing your sensitivity to these highly nerve-rich endings of our body. Things that allow us to manipulate tools, that allow us to stand on uneven surfaces, and lengthening out. When you have completed that pass of your room, let's come just down onto the floor. And right away, we're going to just get a little bit of abdominal work going. So at this point, many of you have done this with me. I'll show it very briefly once. So we're going to come to lying on our back. Legs are in parallel. I'm going to engage my abdominals and lift my head and shoulders, hands come behind my head. Then I'll take side bends, side to side. And then we're going to take a side bend, hold, we'll take some rotations. I'll talk us through all of this. So, finding yourself lying on your back, engage the abdominals without changing any of the bony relationships of your body on the floor. So it's just a muscular action to begin with. Now, hands coming behind the head. Lift your head and shoulders up so you're standing on these low ribs. You're rolling your thorax forward so you can see your toes. Bending your knees in, and let's side bend to the right. Extending the legs, and then to the left. Keeping the pelvis facing the ceiling. As you side bend left, feeling right waist lengthen. And as you side bend right, left waist. Alternating. Noticing if you have a desire to lift one side of your back into rotation, then try to keep your head and shoulders also facing the ceiling. And let's take a couple more. And the next time we come to the right here, stay and turn your chest up to the left and to the right. Rotating around your midline in this asymmetrical position. Keep going. We're going to take it 4 more times on this side. Feeling the exertion, and the abdominals begin to increase. And 3, 2, and 1. Bend over to the other side right away. Hold on to that sense of work. And turn your chest up to the right and to the left. Right, left. Keeping the waist narrowing as you do this. And perhaps you notice a difference in terms of range of motion on the 2 sides. 3 more. 2. And 1. Come to center. Release down. Just let everything go for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. Expanding your abdominal wall. Releasing a little bit of that accumulated effort. And from here, we're going to bring the legs into parallel. So again, I'm going to talk us through this once, and then we will do it all together. So it's going to be a little supine hip bridge, which we've been practicing. So I'm going to engage my abdominals, roll my pubic bone up in front using my abdominal wall, and then rolling my sit bones towards the backs of my thighs using my hamstrings, pressing down to lift my hips up slightly, just very small bridge. From here, I'm going to maintain that big scoop of my tail, and I'm going to shift my weight to the right foot, then come to center, then to the left and center, all the while keeping the 2 hip bones level, and then we'll come down. All right, so let's do that together. Engaging the abdominals and rolling the pubic bone up in front, rolling the sit bones towards the backs of the thighs, and pressing into the heels to just lightly and barely lift the hips off the floor. Keeping that big tuck of the tail. Shifting your weight a little to the right, keeping the hips level, and coming back to center. A little to the left, and come back to center. And roll all the way down. We will do that again, accumulating 2 shifts each side. If this is at all difficult for your SI joint, stay in center. Just hold and work for symmetry of engagement of the posterior hip. Narrowing the waist, rolling the tail under, and pressing into the heels, coming into your little bridge. And shifting your weight right, and center, left, and center. Again, right, and center, left, and center. Reestablish that top, and come down. Bend the knees in, slide the feet out. Again, this time 3 shifts. We're going to accumulate to 5. Scooping the tail under, rolling the pelvis up, keeping that big tuck of the tail. Shifting to the right and center. Pelvis stays level. Left and center. So both legs work the whole time. Right and center. Again, left and center. Once more each side. Right and center. Left and center. Tuck, 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 tuck. Roll all the way down. Release. Bend the knees. Slide them towards the ceiling. Lengthen the legs again. That's our little rest. 2 more times. We've got 4 now. Engaging the abdominals, scooping the tail under, Rolling the hips off the floor, big tuck. Let's shift left first this time. Left, center, right, center, left, center, right, center. Two more, left, center, right, center, whoa, left, keep it parallel, center, right, and center. Big tuck, get those abdominals working, and release. Oh my God, right. Bend the knees in, slide them out. Last time, left side first, 5 shifts. Scooping the abdominal wall in, rolling the pelvis off the floor, tucking the tail, and finding your bridge. Shifting left and center, right and center, left, center, right, center, left, center, right for 3, center, left, center, right, center, one more side, left, center, right, center, and roll all the way down. Bend those knees, and just take a moment here, releasing the effort into the floor. That was a lot of work, yeah? Okay, from here, we're gonna go into a little bit of full spinal activation. So watch once, and then we'll do it together. So simple movement pattern. I'm gonna take hands behind the head, lifting my head and shoulders up. I'll side bend to the right. I'm gonna roll, extend, come to my belly, and twist up to the left, reverse, coming onto my side, revolving back into this little crescent position, and then I'm gonna do the other side. So crescent to the left, and then I'll take my side lying spinal extension, rolling all the way to my belly, twisting my chest up to the left, and then side bending. You can really see it from this angle. Side bending to steer myself back to this crescent on my back. So coming onto your back, I'll talk us through this. We're gonna do, I think about 4 sets. So engaging the abdominals, hands come behind the head. Take the atypical interlacing, the one that feels a little weird of your fingers. And we're gonna side bend to the right, lengthen through toes, elbow, tail, crown of head, and roll all the way to your belly. Turn your chest up to the right. And then side bending right. Just steer yourself back, navel drawing down to come into that crescent. Side bend left, lengthen through toes, crown of head, and elbows. Rolling all the way to your belly and turn your chest up to the left. Side bending to the left to revolve back, drawing your navel towards the floor. Again, right, lengthen. Distribute that motion through the entire front surface of your body. Turn your chest up to the right, and then side bend right to come back. Crescent to the left, lengthen out. Big movement, turning the chest up to the left, and then side bending to come back. And again, taking that over to the right, lengthening out, and revolving, turning your chest up, and side bending, coming back into that right crescent, and going to the left, lengthening out, and revolving up, turning your chest up to the left, side bend, and revolving back. We're gonna take that one more time each side. Just gonna come and take a peek and see how everyone is doing. So side bending right, and rolling, good. Really distributing that action through all of the joints of your body. Thinking about radiating energy out into space. And coming over to the left. Reaching, turning your chest up to the left. That's great, Sarah. And coming back. And okay, and everyone rest. Okay, let's take a look. Sarah Pippin, can we take a look at you? Can you do pick a side, it doesn't matter which side. And what I'd like for us to look at, because this is common for many of us, is the return to the crescent. Okay, so side bend and lengthening out, yep. reaching, pressing, so thinking fingers, toes, and coming all the way to your belly and turning your chest up to the right and coming back, side bending right. And so she's got a really interesting solution there. Okay, cool, great. Can you do the left? Just do the left for us as well. Lengthening out. And we see a few differences side to side. Yeah, okay. So do you experience that bump on the way back, especially on the left? Yeah, you guys seeing that? Okay, so two things I want to point out with Sarah. The first is she has a really interesting strategy for her return on the first side, which is the side bend is coming not from the upper body, but from the lower body. So that's nothing wrong with it, it's just an interesting one. So first side, I'm seeing, let's see, from here, I'm seeing that you're steering with your lower body to initiate rather than your upper body. So you might, that's really interesting. You might just try this to see what that's like. Now the other thing is in that return on the left side particularly, you're coming back and you're getting this moment of fall. So let's see if we can try this sense of letting the legs come forward. They're going to come together and they're going to reach towards that low diagonal, giving you time to peel the hips back down. So that action is going to require an awful lot of oblique control to come to here. So try for us once more on the left side. Let's see. And actually, yeah, we're great. Okay. Side bending left. And lengthening out. And legs off the floor, good. Turning up to the left. And as you revolve back, so, keeping that right leg off the floor, yes. Now right here, start to draw the legs together and towards the low right diagonal, drawing the pelvis, keep them down, yeah. There you go. Different? Yeah, yeah. What did you feel?
I felt that connection on my left.
Did that feel different for you? Yeah. I can't hear you, Sarah.
Can you?
Oh, you know why I can't hear you? Because the volume was off on my computer. That's why. That's totally me.
Got it.
Go for it.
I felt the connection, especially on my left side, my standing side, of that connecting of my hip to the bottom of my rib cage, instead of kind of like searching for the floor. It was like that connection just led me.
Yeah. So it's more like you're revolving from the underside. So that was super clear. Everybody do this for me. Just come down onto your bellies for 1 second in spinal extension. I just want you to try something because it's a very interesting sensation. You're going to take your hands behind your head, just as we had them, and lengthen out into your spinal extension. And the legs are off the floor as well, distributing that motion through all the joints of your body. Really good. And from here, side bend to the right as if you were going to start to roll back to your right side. And begin that roll, so you're going to turn the chest to the left now and come to the right side and then come back onto your belly. So you don't have to complete the action, good. And then side bend left in the upper body to start that roll onto your left side and come back. And now I want you to try what Sarah was doing on the right side, just to have the sensation. So you're going to side bend from the lower body to the right, not from the upper body. So your legs are going to move over to the right, and they're going to take you into that sideline extension and come back to your belly. And then side bend the legs to the left. The legs, and not the upper body, and then come onto that side and come back to your belly and just rest. Okay, so
we are not going to spend a huge amount of time on that today, but a very different sensation, yeah? You really get into some of these deep lower spinals and upper hip muscles in a completely different way. Yeah. All right, so coming back out, and we're going to take a seated position now. So finding yourself sitting in a good old school Martha Graham fourth. So sitting on the floor, let's take our left foot forward, or if you want to mirror me, you can take the right. I have my left foot forward. And I'm going to just try to find a seated position. So noticing my back sit bone might be off the floor a little bit, or it might be dropping down. I'm going to try to encourage it to drop down, and then I'm going to take that sit bone and I'm going to drive it forward, taking spinal extension as I spiral up to the high diagonal back on the left. And then that sit bone is going to draw me tall and back as I take flexion over it. So this is truly riffing on Martha. And we're going to take this a few times. So join in as you're ready. Drawing the sit bone back and taking spinal flexion and pushing that sit bone forward up into hip extension as I take spinal extension and rotation. And coming back, folding forward again. And adding a little bit more dynamic from the sit bone, so it pulls you back and it pushes you forward. So there's an impulse at the beginning of this action that is faster than the end of the action. And taking that one more time on this side, big extension and flexion. Keep your flexion now and then lengthen your chest. So you're in this twist. Extend your front leg forward, straightening it off the floor, and then fold it in, tipping up and over, and extend your back leg off the floor. And fold it in, twisting towards the back leg, looking at the left leg as you extend it, and up and over, and reaching out. And let's take that a few more times. Big reach with the foot, and up and over, long reach with the fingers and the toes. And coming back. 2 more times, extending, up and over, and back. 1 more time, rotating to reach, and back. From here now, in your fourth position, twisted towards the back leg, we're gonna keep that leg lifted, lengthen the spine, and twist towards your front leg, and away. Following your arms with your eyes, twisting towards, and away. Again, towards, and away. And towards, away, 3 more. Keeping energy reaching out through the gesture leg, active focus, and 1 more, and big twist, and back. Fold that leg in, fold it forward over your front hip, and lengthen your back leg. From here, we're going to turn our chest to the right and to the left. So rotisserie style, rotating around your midline, and left. 4 more times, twisting to the right. And left back leg is straight if you can manage it, and off the floor if you can manage it. If not, it can be down. It could be bent and lifted. You've got a few ways of modifying, twisting around your center. 1 more time each side. And rest. Come up to seated. Twist towards your back leg and round your back. Bringing your fingertips to the floor. And just breathe here for a moment. Feeling how with your back sort of pulled taut in this position, you can really get into those back lungs nicely. Just as we felt in that flexion. And then pull your chest up, brush the right leg around, and just take a little seated twist for 1 second, dropping that hip down, coming out of the position you were just in, pressing into your fingertips again. And okay, let's take both legs long for 1 second. In this position, we're going to walk on our sit bones, taking a lot of opposition with your upper body. So, stepping forward and reaching out with your arms. Big twist, whole body moving you through space. Hip joints opening. So you're displacing one pelvic half forward and then the other. And then when you run out of space, take that backwards, keeping lots of rotation in your spine. Noticing the difference in efficiency, forward and back. The
work that starts to accumulate in your hip flexors. And then rest for a moment, just sit tall. Take your hands down on the floor, scoop your tail, press into your heels, take a little bridge just to open the fronts of the hips for 1 second. And then come back down. Taking fourth position, seated fourth on the other side. So for me, right leg comes forward, and this side, very different situation for me, as I'm sure it is for many of you, than the other side. So I have more difficulty getting that left sit bone down. So I have to really encourage that internal rotation and that deepening of that left hip socket here. And we're going to take our left sit bone forward and up, taking our spiral, and coming back. Left sit bone comes back and down, flexing the spine. And hip extension, and spinal extension and rotation. And coming back, flexing forward. And hip comes forward. And reach. And back. Noticing if you're tipping forward and back up your central vertical axis. And trying to get as much height at the top of that extension as possible. And adding a little more dynamic. So the sit bone is going to pull us back. The spine trails. It pushes us forward and pulls us back. 3 more. And drawing back. Noticing the impact of this dynamic on our muscular experience as well as our joint experience. And by experience, I mean sensation. 1 more time. Forward and up. And back. And then keeping that twist towards your back leg, extend your front leg out, and we're going to twist towards it and away, letting the eyes engage in this activity, keeping a sense that you're lengthening through your sternum, and noticing any difficulty maintaining the lift of that front leg, any difference on this side from the other, and 1 more time in each direction, and then fold that leg in, establishing your height as you come up and over, and left leg reaches back. Twisting here around your midline, and so options would be you could bend that knee if that feels too difficult to lift it with a straight leg. It takes a little bit of the weight off. You could also just set the knee down and keep lengthening through the spine. And taking this 3 more times, revolving around your midline. And good, 2 more. And last one. And rest. Folding that back hip in and coming up and over now, dropping that hip down. Fingertips coming to the floor and pressing into the fingertips to draw the shoulder blades wide on your back. And take a couple of breaths here. Noticing the line of tension created in your back body by this position. And then lengthen up and draw that leg around. Take your seated twist for 1 moment. Sitting nice and tall. Taking that back hip finally into a fold. And release. Scooting into an extended leg, we're going to take 1 more time, walking in each direction on our sit bones. Big rotation. So thinking about this as a moment where you're moving 1 foot as far away from the opposite sit bone as possible. Really getting a lot of generous reach in the spine. And taking it back, seeing if you can emphasize the backward reach of the folding leg sit bone. So a little bit more difficult. We're not particularly designed to move backwards, nor are we particularly designed to move on our butts in this way. And then rest. Just come down onto your back, knees bent, resting your arms in any comfortable position, and just taking 1 bridge, scooping the tail under, pressing into the feet, rolling that pubic bone up, and releasing the hip flexors that were just so involved in that seated walking. Keeping the tail scooping, pressing into the feet, and come down and rest. Take a breath. I'm just going to check in and see if I have any questions before we add new material. All right, anybody? Questions? Comments, observations?
I'm also available if you want to give me life advice. Chelsea, yes.
Are you, it's been a long time since I've taken Graham, but in this position, are you stretching this back foot? Because I was noticing that I felt like a sensation in my knee if I was trying to keep both feet pointed when I was doing this. I could just feel my quad being tight. But I didn't know if you had if you would prefer the feet relaxed or.
Great, no, that's a great question. Can you stay in that position for me for 1 second? So flex your ankles. Give them a hard flex. How's that feel? Better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my tip for everybody in this position. And in many bent knee positions, to protect your knees, just go for that flex of the ankle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Anna, you had a question, I think, right?
It was basically that. Mine was that I was finding more on one side than the other, kind of like pressure on the inside edge of that foot. But I think it's just a quick sport with flexing.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else? No. Okay, cool. Yes. So for me, basically, I'll be specific most of the time if I have an actual aesthetic or functional desire for the foot, but primarily I'm interested in you guys pursuing comfort. And the foot is a great thing to check in with if your knee is giving you a little trouble. Okay, so we're gonna do a little rotation exercise in 1 second, but just to kind of get things a little more global again, by which I mean let's get these legs integrated into our center. Let's take our runway, and it's just gonna be a straight up air curl, really simple. So folding forward, and you can do this with me, and walking yourself out. Tracking this time, your knee in parallel, your foot and your hip. Going forwards and back. And so when I say tracking in parallel, notice that you have a tendency to roll off the center of the ball of the foot as you take your step forward. Are you pushing through second and third toe, or are you primarily pushing off your big toe? Or maybe even your baby toe. And taking it back again. Big push with the arms. And let's roll up. Adding on a little bit. So we're going to take that forward fold, walk it out, stepping into this deep lunge, and just rolling up to stand on 1 foot. First time today. And then folding forward. Hands walk out, step the foot forward, squaring the pelvis, and rolling up. So joining in, if you haven't already. Trying to find at the top, just asking yourself if you're in a neutral pelvis or if you're tending towards a little flexion. And trying to set yourself up with a really upright pelvis. Also noticing upright pelvis impacts where your weight is on your support foot, which of course is the only foot when you're standing. And coming all the way up. Taking this backwards when you run out of space. Letting energy drop down the back of the body. Seeing at the top if you can let that energy continue out the crown of the head. I'm noticing my own body today. I'm sometimes abbreviating that a little bit. So when I get to the top, I'm going to think a little bit more about that push down. And notice how that lengthens the back of my neck. And continue. Traveling forward and back, finding my weight over my leg. Squaring my pelvis and rolling up to stand. We're going to take this just 1 more time in each direction, this time in external rotation. So stepping myself forward into a turned up foot again on the first one, checking out if my pelvis is square or if I'm dropping my gesture hip into internal rotation, which is the most common. And from this position here, getting that sense of my free hip, my soon-to-be gesture hip, sending it into a place of neutral. I want to say somehow structural integrity, but that seems like maybe overstating the case. So I'm going to hold back, rolling up again and checking in. Am I in a neutral hip extension or a little flexion? And
striving delicately for your neutral. And taking that back again, just gonna come and watch. So traveling in this lunging pattern onto a plie, pelvis square, and coming up. And if that gesture leg needs to be bent behind you to find a neutral standing hip, that's okay, let it be. And a little more weight towards the ball of that foot, Sarah Pippin. And plie as you hinge back and down. Whoa, yes. So perhaps also a little less rotation. Yeah, that looks happy in that leg. And you can take a longer step back, actually. Good. Good. Finding that vertical. Nice, Sarah Franco, really beautiful. And here, right here, send that right sit bone back a little bit more before you come up. So come all the way forward into that fold. And lift your right sit bone to the ceiling behind you a little more. Notice how that changes where your lower leg is over your foot. That's it. Really good. Okay. And everyone, come to rest. Great. Do we have questions before we go on? Nope. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna take now, I'm gonna come on to hands and knees. I will show this, I think I'm gonna show it from this angle, but we'll see, maybe I'll take another angle as well. So weight bearing on my hands and knees, I'm going to take my knees relatively close together. My right leg comes up, the knee is bent. And I'm going to take external rotation of my whole pelvis. So I'm pressing into my left knee to turn the hip out, and then I'm going to turn in, crossing my midline. Trying to keep some energy through my arms. So it's a turning out and a turning in, and then I'm going to do the other side. Then we're going to take upper body turning in and turning out. So trying to revolve around my midline, and then other side. I'm going to talk you through this, of course. Leg is gonna lift, and then I'll take opposite arm, and I'm gonna do both together in both movement patterns. So, come down to your hands and knees, and let us lift let's do the left leg first. So, left knee is bent, and you're lifting that left leg off the floor. In this position, you get a little sense of pressure down into your arms, collarbones are level, hips are level. And now press into your right knee to externally rotate your pelvis, turning out. And then rotate in, crossing midline with that left knee, keeping elbows straight. Press down to right knee and turn pelvis out on standing leg, and then turn in. You can let your focus begin to go with it if you like, turning out and turning in. And turning out, big rotation, and turning in. Center yourself and lift your right leg. And pressing down, turning out, and turning in. And turning out, pressing into the left knee, really getting that sense of downward thrust, initiating the movement, and turning in, good. And press down, turn out, trying to keep energy going through both hands, turn in. And one more time, press down, turn out, and turn in. Center yourself, taking left hand and reaching left hand up to the ceiling on the left side, opening the chest, and then keeping pressure into the right hand, turning, reaching under to the right, and press down, open to the left, and turn in, reaching under to the right. 2 more times on this side. Press down and twist open, and in and under. One more time. Pressing, turning the chest all the way with your eyes, and rotating under. And last time, pressing down and turning towards. Changing sides. Rotating chest open to the right and revolving the chest towards your support arm. Pressing down, turning your chest open to the right, and revolving your chest towards your support arm. Really noticing how your sternum is taking this ride. So you're revolving your trunk, and the arm kind of embellishes that action. Turning away from support arm, and then turning towards it. Bring the right hand down, center the hands again. Now this time, pick up your left leg and take your right arm out to the right. Turn your pelvis out so that you're pressing into your right knee, and turn your chest up to the right. Now reverse those two movements, internally rotating pelvis and twisting towards your support arm. Press down and sort of butterfly them away from each other, and then rotate everything crossing midline. And two more, opening away from midline, and then crossing midline. And one more, pressing to twist away, and then rotating across. Hold here, open your pelvis, turn your hips out, and try not to fall on your head. And then reverse that, turning chest to the right, turning pelvis to the right. Press down, everything turns to the left. Keep that sense of thrust in the forward, turning everything to the right. Two more, everything turns to the left. And turning right, and revolving to the left. Last time, opening to the right, and center yourself. Rest, take the weight off your hands for a second. That's kind of a lot. You might be getting a lot of sensation in left shoulder girdle, in right hip. Okay, come back to your hands and knees, and we're gonna take the other side, and I am just gonna watch and see if I can give a little feedback for people. So, weight bearing on hands and knees, and you're gonna lift right leg and left arm. Left arm goes out to the left, and right leg turns out. And now externally rotate, and now cross midline, turning in. Press down and turn out. Good. Open that right hip more, Akira. Press into the left knee, turn the pelvis away, and turn in. Crossing. And pressing down and turning out. And letting the focus go towards the fingers. Nice, Chelsea. And coming in and turning across midline. Let the pelvis turn more. And and turning out. And then cross midline. One more. Turn out and cross midline. Stay here. Keep reaching under your arm. And turn the pelvis to the right. And now revolve everything to the left. Pressing down into those support limbs. Left knee, right arm, big push. Turn in more, Anna. Turn in more. Turn in more in the leg. Yeah. And then reverse, coming across midline, turning to the right. And press down, turn out to the left. And come in, turn to the right. And out and to the left. Last one. Turning in. And turning out. And center and rest. Take the weight off your hands. Good. Okay. That is kind of a lot, yeah? We have a question? No. Yes, Kate.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I had 2 questions. I found there's a lot of forward and backward motion for me. Should we keep the natural part of that or really try to stay completely steady? Part 2. When we're doing this twisting motion, should we focus more on like the leg getting to its maximum and then the arm going from there, or is it both really trying at the same time, or is one more important?
Okay, so really, really great questions. So the first thing I'm gonna say is that this is like a live animal, right? And so it will never replicate itself. So how you orient your goal is going to offer different results. So if your goal is to minimize instability, then your range is going to have to adjust to accommodate that, right? So if I want to be really stable, I might not be able to max out the range. So that forward backward shift, if my goal is more exploratory, then I might find that my forward and backward shift is going to be a little larger. For me today, what I was interested in my own body, so therefore was demonstrating this way, was actually rotation, was going for a lot of rotation, which means I was inviting in a lot more instability. I'm also interested in trying to go for a simultaneity of arrival. However, it's not wrong to do it the other way. So that might be a way you want to do this as a building block. But if you want, like for maximal challenge is going to be something like going towards arrival in max simultaneously without forward shift, without any kind of, yeah. So there's a little, this is we're all advanced, so there's a little choice making that's in play for us. Yeah, does that answer? Okay, awesome. All right, Anna, yeah.
When you come to internal rotation, are you the working leg? Are you letting it like cross over the midline? Or are you keeping that straight alignment?
Yeah, I'm letting it cross over the midline, for sure. Big cross. Jason Parsons.
I was really, oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was totally lost on that. So I didn't know when you were doing the combo platter, if there was 2 different variations or one of the same idea of what you were doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally was like staring at the computer lost. So if you wanted to just clarify that a little bit, because I don't think I was not doing what you guys were doing. So
Sure thing. Okay, so I'm going to clarify the combo platter real quick, and then I want to get us on our feet. So the variations are, and let me show it from the side. So we have, first variation is I'm moving my 2 limbs in opposition to each other. So my leg is opening to the left and my arm is opening to the right. And so they're fighting, that limits the motion. And then in this, they like to do this opposition, so it's easier. Now the second pattern, so that was one, we did 4 like that. And the second pattern is they're going in the same direction. So this becomes a balance challenge. And then this rotation becomes a little simpler. So moving.
So are you thinking about the shoulder on the second one, the shoulder joint of the supporting arm and which leg? That's where I'm getting confused on the functioning. I think what's staring me in like a weird situation is, are you wanting to really focus on what's happening with the joint of that you're stabilizing on, or are you more interested in the function of, you know what I'm saying? I'm a little confused on like what's the root of what is happening. Sorry, thank you.
So there's not one root. So I'm pressing the floor away through my support limbs, and then I'm taking that downward thrust to help me get a little bit of reach through the gesture. Then I'm going to keep that sense of downward thrust as I revolve. So these are the stable structures that I'm moving around. And then when I change the pattern, they're still the stable structures that I'm revolving around. So it's, in a way, it's the equivalent of, we have this contralateral walking pattern, or we have homolateral walking pattern. So it's really just a riff on that kind of organization in our body.
Not sure if that fully answers the question, but we can check in about that later off it.
I didn't know that we were doing I misread what was happening. So I was doing only one way, not both ways. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I want to get us in our legs a little bit more. So just coming up, and we're going to take an easy first position.
You're gonna lunge forward, keeping some energy moving into your upper body so we're not leaving our shoulders behind. And then we're just gonna draw back. Again, same leg, lunge, and then scissor to draw back so you can join right away. And lunging forward, weight between legs, and thrusting down, scissoring, getting energy through the crown of the head. And 2 more on this side. And draw back. And 1 more. And draw back. Stay on the left leg now and brush that right leg back behind you. Maybe lift the left heel and lower down. Bring yourself to first. We're going to take the left side. So lunging forward and scissoring to draw to center. Weight is on the right. Lunge forward and scissor to find that single weight. And 3 more. Lunge and scissor. And 2 more. Lunge and scissor in. Last one. Lunge. Find yourself on that right leg. Keep pushing down. Let the left go behind into a small arabesque. And maybe peel that right heel off the floor. Great. Taking the right leg forward again. We're going to take a lunge, and this time, watch once. I'm going to plie on the left as I come back. Plie and flex. So from the side, I'm finding this position. Then I'm going to extend, lunge, plie, flex. So joining in and taking that extension. So lunging forward, pressing back, rounding my back, soft plie and support leg, and lengthen out. Lunge and press back and extend both legs. Lunge. Plie, drawing that left heel down, folding over it, pressing the floor away to extend. Last one, lunge, plie, fold forward, press down, extend, and close. Left side. Lunging forward with the left leg and pressing back, right heel down, flex the spine. Push the floor away and extend the left to lunge. Pushing back, pulling the navel towards the room behind you. Press down, extend, and lunge. 3 more. Flexing in, press down, extend, and lunge. 2 more, I'm just gonna check in. Press down, drawing back, and arms lower, Akira. And 1 more. Flexing the spine, and coming back, and extend, and rest. Okay, adding on, watching once. I'm gonna take lunge, press back into my flexion. Now from here, I'm going to développé and stay in plie, lengthen my spine up. Flex forward, whoa, hello. And from here, I'm going to press down to lengthen to my arabesque. Plie forward. I'm going to press to second, up and over, internally rotate, so we've done a bunch of that. Here's that turn we were doing last week. To come all the way forward, flex down, hands plant, brush that leg back, step it back into external rotation, and I'm going to push off of it. Whew. I'm back at the beginning. So 1 more time. So from the bottom, it's this press into flexion, and I'm extending. Spine comes vertical, and I flex. Push down the support leg straightens, looking up, and I flex. Pressing into lateral flexion, internally rotate on my standing leg. Press, looking towards my hand, all the way around. Forward fold, hands plant. Brush that leg off the floor behind me. Single leg plank. Step it through. And back. Okay? I'm going to do the first 2 or so with you. So, taking your first position, we're going to do about 4 per side. And lunging forward with the right. Energy in the arms. And launch back, flex. Press down, extend. Vertical spine, extend just your leg. And fold forward, flex. And press down, low arabesque, neutral standing hip. And flex. And press down, lateral flexion, internally rotate on your pelvis. And turn, Pause. Fold forward, hands down. Brush. Step back. Load that leg to push yourself onto the vertical. And extend. And plie. And arabesque. And flex. Come into your lateral flexion. Turn in on your standing leg. Push down into that left foot. And turn. Hover. Fold down. And brush. Twice more on that side. Lunging right leg forward. Pressing off that foot. Coming back onto your left. Good. And extend. Lengthening up. Stay in plie on the standing leg. And plie. And now standing leg straightens as you take your arabesque. And plie. Find that lateral flexion. And up on that left hip. Internally rotate. And turn. Hover. Hands come down to the floor. There's your single leg plank. Step the right foot forward, yes. And launch yourself back onto the left. Folding the spine. And press down, extend right leg, and move the fingertips towards the sky, away from those toes. Nice, Ashley. And then plie, navel draws back. And pressing back, arabesque. Weight a little further forward on the left foot, Ashley. Yeah. And plie, fold forward. Laterally flex. Nice, Kate. Press down into that left foot to take your turn in, to take your turn. And hover down, hands down, brush back, lunge. Last one on this side, I believe. And lunge forward with the right. And back to that support leg. Fingers and toes move apart. And folding towards midline, pressing back, arabesque. Nice, Sarah. And fold in, yes, yes, deep plie. And then taking that lateral flexion, press down into the left foot, internally rotate. Yeah, and big turn. Fold forward, hands down, and now stay in your plank for a second. Brush the right leg back. Now put it down on the floor and lunge the left foot forward. And coming up, good. And brushing back, other side. And so first time is a moment of truth, right? How much thrust can this leg generate usefully for you? And taking your arabesque and taking that flexion to find your lateral flexion. Fingers and toes moving to the left, Adrian. And turning in to take your turn. And hovering, letting that left sit bone reach back, hands down. And right foot on the floor, left leg brushes back. And step left foot forward. Loading left foot, right heel comes down, navel draws back. Good. And now the left toes reach out towards the front, the fingers reach to the ceiling. And fold in, good. And taking your arabesque, pressing the floor away. Yes, right hip forward and up. Adrian, yeah. And folding in. And as you take the lateral flexion, the fingertips reach over to the left, Adrian. Other left with the fingers, the other side bend. There you go, you got it. That's it. And beautiful. And two more on this side. And good, keep going. So it's okay if you start to work at your own pace. You know what this material is, making it useful for your inquiry today. And trying to notice as you go, what are the oppositional components of each of these actions? So the fingers and toes reaching away from each other, or maybe it's the center and the toe reaching away from each other. So a little check-in on that as you go. And taking one more, stepping forward, big push. So Ashley, as you take that push back, you're good, but as you take it back, yeah, can you have your navel reach back and your head, fingers, and toe reach forward sooner? So drop the head, there you go. Yes, that's very different, that's very different. And and now your trunk is giving you more support. Nice, you guys, really nice. And letting that focus participate
in these finger gestures. Yes, that's it, Sarah. Press into that foot, support leg. Letting the eyes take you around, deep forward fold, melting yourself back to your plank. And then you're just gonna come from your plank the last time, just come up to stand. And rest. Okay, great.